Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today we're going to be talking to none other than Ryan Stewman, the founder of Apex and The Hardcore Closer. He's also a best-selling author of the book Elevator to the Top and a sales coach for some of the top entrepreneurs in the country. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down his sales strategies and how they helped him go from getting out of prison with only $25 in his pocket to becoming an 8-figure net worth entrepreneur. We'll also discuss how to eliminate distractions and excuses from your business to become a high-level entrepreneur and take your business to the next level. If you have any questions, put them in the box down below. Make sure you join our Facebook group, link in the description. And as always, if you like money and you like real estate, hit that subscribe button and we'll see you on the inside. Welcome to Founders Club, the show for real estate entrepreneurs. You've got extensive sales experience. You're known as the hardcore closer. You've been at the top of the car sales game, the top of the mortgage sales game. You've built a big real estate social media agency. Now you have one of the top, coaching and training platforms. So just to take a step back for the people that don't know, how did you get started on your, sales journey and becoming the hardcore closer?
Well, first, thanks for having me. I appreciate you letting me on your show. And I was born in Dallas, Texas, and I got in a lot of trouble as a kid. I was adopted at 7 years old. I ran away from home at 15 years old. I slept on friends' couches for years, ended up selling drugs, going to prison. So I had everything but a silver spoon, And if I had a silver spoon, it might have had drugs in it, in all reality. And so I didn't get a good start on life. It's my fault. I'm on the responsibility for that, but I didn't have the ability to go to college. I dropped out of school, all of these things. So sales was really the only option for me. As crazy as that sounds, if you've got the gift of gab, no matter what your background, somebody will hire you in sales. I've had to go to both state and federal prison, and when I came out of prison the second time, that sales was the only thing that was an option. And I had W-2s where I had made money before, and this huge banking conglomerate's like, we're going to overlook these 2 felonies because of the amount of sales that you've made in the past, but we're going to expect you to keep these numbers up or you're not going to be able to be employed here. It's like, hey, that's a lot of motivation to get good at sales too, right?
For sure.
But I couldn't get a job really doing anything else. I've never had a salaried job my whole life until now, the one I created for myself. And it's still not salary because I'm self-employed, right? But I pay myself a salary for tax purposes and stuff. But I've always been a 1099 commission only, eat what you kill guy. And, car dealerships hire you for stuff like that. Prior to Dodd-Frank, a bank would hire you for something like that. Roofers, there's all sorts of stuff that if you've got skills and you can sell, your background doesn't matter.
So it was basically sink or swim to become good at sales.
So I worked at this car wash and I made like minimum wage, and which even back then it was not a living wage, and it was probably $5 something like that an hour. And I quit that, went and worked construction for like $8 or $9 an hour. I was making big money at that point. And I noticed the guys that would show up on the job site in the Mercedes-Benz, in the suit, showing the customers. So they never did shit. They never lifted a hammer. They were never sweating. They always looked good, smelled good, had the cool job, and made all the money. And I was like, man, I'm on the wrong end of this gig. I got to figure out how to get over there. And I thought, okay, I'm going to need to buy a suit. I'm going to need a fancy car. It's like, I just needed skills, And so when I got into sales, the first thing that I sold was car washes. Somebody would come in, they want a $5 car wash, we'd sell them a $10 car wash, I'd make a quarter per car or something like that in commission and move on.
Upsell them to the platinum wash.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some days we'd wash 1,000 cars. So that gave me 1,000 opportunities. It's 100 opportunities an hour to see people's facial expressions, how they react, what would get me a yes, what was the right offer for the right car and the right age range and the right mindset. And different people buy different ways. Like certain people from different demographics like to negotiate. Some want extra stuff. Some people don't want to pay anything extra. They just want a plain vanilla thing. So I got to really learn this. And I worked there for 3 years, 7 days a week, rain or shine. So, I probably we would wash 15 to 17,000 cars a month. So, times that by 3 years, whatever that works out to be.
It's a lot of experience in a short amount of time.
Sales, yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And took that, and one day, a customer at that car wash offered me a job working in the mortgage industry. It's 2004, and she says the word mortgage, and I'm like, what does that mean? I don't even know. I had a truck that I paid cash for. My grandpa died, and I got his truck that I took over. Like, when he died, he had it financed. I just paid the last $1,500 off of that truck. I owned it. I paid cash for my apartment. I was a felon, so the only person in Dallas that would rent me an apartment was Jerry Jones, because he had built this apartment complex, and 3 of his cowboys were felons. And so they were housed there, so I knew I could, like, pull the, hey, I'm in there too card, right? And I was like, I know they're either not pulling backgrounds over there, or I can say I belong as well, and it worked. But like I had nothing going on for my life, basically. And this lady tells me, I could get you a job in mortgages, and if you'll work as hard there as you work here at this car wash, you'll be a millionaire. And then I was like, but lady, I'm a felon. And she goes, oh, well, what'd you do? I was like, I got caught selling drugs. She goes, oh, you're feeling great. This would be a great job for you. And so I quit the job, and I went over there to work for her. And, long story short, within a year, I learned real estate investing and how mortgages worked, and it made almost $1 million within about 18 months.
Wow.
And then went right back to prison. Craziest story. I was making so much money and having such a good time, the police thought I was selling drugs. So they kicked in my door. I don't even have sandwich baggies, or scales or anything. I don't have no drugs whatsoever, but they found a gun, and they charged me with felon in possession of a firearm. I beat the case, and then they gave it to the ATF, like double jeopardy type of bullshit, and then nobody beats the feds. Like, I'm not that rich, and I wasn't rich then. I thought I was, but I didn't have that kind of money to fight the feds, so I pled out and went and did 15 months in federal prison for a crime that they didn't even suspect me of, that was like they just stumbled upon.
Wow.
Like the modern day equivalent of getting pulled over and then breaking your brake light and going, you got a tail light out. And so I go do 15 months. While I'm in there, I own 32 properties, and like all this happened in a short period of time, like blew up, own all these properties, because back then you go buy properties, non-owner occupied, 100%, and married, going to prison within 6 months. My wife, ex-wife now, sold all those properties, wrote me a Dear John letter that she found another man. They were running off with all the money, and I walked in a millionaire with a bunch of real estate and an empire, and I walked out with about $50 to my name and living in a halfway house. This was 2008. But I knew 2 things. Like, I'm at a rock bottom point in my life, clearly.
Yeah.
And I can't get any lower, right? Like,
this
is it.
From the top.
Yes.
Right? Like,
but I knew the top had happened. I did it once. Mm-hmm. It's got to be easier the second time. It's got to be easier because now I got the experience, right? And I know it's possible. So I went on this journey to get it back and went right back into the mortgage business. And was making, in the down times, 2009 was a really rough year. And I made $300,000 on my W-2. And then 2010, Dodd-Frank gets put into Congress and signed into law by Obama. Part of that was if you were a felon within the last 7 years, you couldn't have anything to do with the financial markets again, including mortgages. So I had a license with the state of Texas. Once it expired, I couldn't get a national license because that was what Dodd-Frank did, took it from states, made it federal. So I'm out of a job. So at this point, I got experience doing 4 things: selling drugs, construction, car washes, and mortgages. Like, I can't do any of them because the other 3 don't pay. Okay. And that's how I got into what I do today, teaching online. When I got out of prison, my sister told me about this thing called Facebook, 2008. And I get on there and I see the first person it suggests is this ex-wife that left me, right? Like, Mark Zuckerberg's such an asshole. And so we just didn't know that back then. And so I'm like, okay, she's on here. So I'm just going to like post my wins and let her know that she messed up, and she's going to get to see the whole comeback story. And so I would post, hey, top producer here at Texas Lending, or, hey, it's the top producers party dinner with the CEO. And I would take all these pictures, and I ended up being in a couple of their commercials, and because they were big advertisers, I did their radio show with them. So I would take these pictures and put it on Facebook, hoping she saw it, knowing that you left me at a low point, but I'm coming back. And not that I wanted her back, I just wanted to rub it in her face, like, bad decision, bad investment. Yeah. But people started hitting me up, and they were like, hey, I see you do mortgages. You think you could get me a house? and at some point it clicked. It's like, wow, I could get business from this Facebook. This is in 2010. Most people didn't even know it existed.
Right.
So I had this bright idea that, okay, I'm going to teach loan officers how to use Facebook to get leads. Except for in 2010, it was a huge problem because nobody knew what Facebook was. And companies were immediately against it. Remember that? Like you would work for a bank and the bank's like, if you post on Facebook, we have a social media policy. And
they wouldn't even let you access it from the computers and all that.
It was
I remember all that.
Crazy. Yeah. And we didn't have the apps on the phone and all that yet. Those things, Instagram wasn't around yet. These things didn't exist. So I'm like pioneering, I don't have a business mentor that can tell me how any of this stuff works, right? Because there wasn't guys like us that have been doing it for now. Somebody wants to get into that, we can teach them now. But there wasn't any teachers back then. It was like, I guess we'll figure it out, you know? Yeah. And so I started teaching loan officers how to get these leads. And it morphed, like I was telling you earlier, into real estate agents. And now we run a mastermind that's got 3,000 members called Apex. I own software companies, have a big real estate portfolio. And I feel like that story sounds crazy, and I just gave you the quick version of it. But I feel like I was supposed to do what I do now my whole life. But if God wouldn't have thrown me in prison, if he wouldn't have had an act of Congress, literally, right? If these things wouldn't have been the roadblocks, like unstoppable roadblocks. I feel like I could run through any roadblock in my life, but those are two unstoppable like the road ends here. And it had to end there for me to be able to course correct to end up where I am today. So as much as that sounds like a crazy, really horrible life story, I really don't think I'd change any of it. You know, I had good experiences everywhere. Good experiences on the construction sites, good experiences at the car wash. I learned Spanish there. Good experiences in prison, you know. So I just try to take the good lessons out of all these Forrest Gump-like stories of my life.
Yeah, what's amazing is like the big highs and lows. And obviously, like, the second time you went to prison sounds like it was rather unexpected, which probably makes it even worse. So then you got to come out, you got to like rebuild, and you're using your sales framework, and you're building out your offerings and stuff like that. How did you kind of like take it to the next level? Like how are you leveraging sales at this point in time to get through and rebuild the empire?
So in 2010, I'm just blown away that I don't have a job anymore. I thought for sure, I was just believing it was going to work out. You ever think like you got a deal and you got a feeling it's not going to close, but like there's something inside. It's like at the last minute, the money's going to come through and this transaction is going to close. I felt like that was going to happen. The last minute, a lawyer would step up, a CEO would step in, they get special something because I was this top producer, and then none of that happened, you know? And it was just like, have a nice day, Ryan. Thanks for making us millions of dollars over the last couple of years. And I'm mutually grateful for them to giving a 2-time felon a chance, right? But then what?
And it also sounds like their hands were tied at that point.
Yeah, it wasn't a they hate me or I hate them. It's like, man, you know, like you're going off to war or something. It's like hug, pat on the back, good luck, buddy. You know, don't get shot. And so, you know, it was a big, as much as I try to compartmentalize it at the time, it was a big weight on my shoulders. I had gotten remarried. I had been out for 3 or 4 years, gotten remarried to my like high school sweetheart. I'm divorced again. It's another story, but gotten remarried. And so I start this business where for $500 down and $100 a month, I'll log into your Facebook and run everything as you. I did this for 70 people a day by myself for 6 or 8 months, man. You know, making 10 grand or so a month, but I have no life. And I'm repurposing content, and I've got a system, but 70 was it. That's the max.
A lot.
That's the max. Well, I couldn't take any more, period. There's nothing I could do, no days off, and I'm stressed to the gills, and then my wife comes in and she says, I'm pregnant. That's how it always happens, right? So, oh, great, more responsibility and stress and problems in my life, as if I needed that. And being thankful, obviously, that I have a son, but like just timing, you know, like, damn, I just lost my job. Now you're pregnant. I can't keep up with this stuff over here, and it's not paying anywhere near what we were making at the mortgage job. And just because some people might be like, well, you were making 10 grand a month, sounds like a lot to some people, but I still had the mortgage from when I was making 30 grand a month. I still had the car payments from when I was making 30 grand a month. So that's a, you know, 1/3 of my income and still 100% of my bills. So it's like, oh shit, man, we're floating quick. And so I had to figure something else out. She tells me she's pregnant. I got to figure out how to get, I don't know how to train people. There's not a massive amount of VAs or things that you can hire like you can today at this point in time to do any of this stuff. So I needed insurance to be able to have a kid and all this. So I went and took a job selling cars. But here was the kicker. When I sold these cars, I did for about 9 months while she was baking the baby. But when I sold these cars, I got the dealership to agree to let me use their social media because they didn't find any value in it, to do whatever I wanted with it and try all my theories. So I would build funnels for them, and I would build, back then it was WordPress sites. We didn't even call them funnels, right? But I would build WordPress sites for them.
With like an Aweber backend or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I still, you know what's funny you say that? I still get checks from Aweber. I don't know who the fuck is still using it. Amazing. I signed up for an affiliate in 2010, and I still get checks every month from them. I have literally no clue who's still signing up. Somewhere somebody just forgot Aweber still billing them, and I get the checks from them every month. But I added it up. I have made $28,000 in commissions with them by accident over the last 10 years.
Amazing.
So, but you're right, Aweber. I would set it up that way, use their Facebook page, and dude, I was the top producer there. I had tons of people coming in. Somebody'd trade a car, I'd take a picture, put it on Facebook, then I'd sell the trade before they even took it back, and had a nice little system. And so I was like, okay, I know this works. It worked in the mortgage business. It worked in the car business. And so then I started testing other theories. I started making videos where I would demo cars from like my cell phone, my BlackBerry, right? That's how long ago this was. And I'm making demos of the cars, of how sync works, and videos of myself. Hi, I'm Ryan Stewman with Park Cities Ford, and I can't wait for you to come down here and test drive this vehicle, and just sending them out to people. And I had a system. I put them all on YouTube. They're still on there, where it was each step of the sales process I had a video for. Dude, I could hit hundreds of emails a day this way, and I didn't have to make cold calls like everybody else, and I was still top producer. So it gave me a good testing ground with their leads and their social media presence to really dial this stuff in. As soon as the kid was born, I went right back to the social media stuff, except for then I started teaching it. But you ask about the sales process. So the way that sales always worked for me is like, if I could just talk to somebody, I felt like I could close them. You know, if they have a need, like for a car, for example, and I can talk to them, I can find a way to fill their needs with the inventory that I have, right? So when I started selling the social media stuff, when I started selling the digital products, the digital trainings that they could log into, I would just get people on the phone, and I have a process we call catch. I would walk them through our catch sales process and enroll them. And, you know, there was a point where it was just me, no assistant, no nothing else, and I'm bringing in $5,000-$6,000 a day just selling digital products on phone calls. And most of it's recorded on YouTube too. I'd be sitting there smoking weed, eating pizza, doing sales calls with live stream on YouTube, making money.
Wow.
And I kind of miss those days, actually. Wow. You know, I'm not so involved in sales anymore, but I built all of this off of an American Express card. You know, something that you got to pay every single month. I didn't have lines of credit or credit cards. I didn't go into debt to build any of this stuff. So despite those crazy circumstances, I always stayed $1 ahead of the debt, you know, and I don't know how, really, and honestly, looking back, grace of God, I guess. But you know, we've leveraged that still. I still carry that American Express. I've leveraged that with no bank lines this whole time to be able to float this whole business for a decade plus.
And what I think is really cool and really relatable with right now to your story is how many ups and downs you've had. And I think, you know, the real estate market obviously right now is a grind. It's, you know, inventory's down, rates are way up, all the things. And so I think a lot of people listening can relate to that. And one thing that I've always liked that you talk about, and you've got it tattooed right there on your hand, is the FYE. And I think that mentality is what people need to hear right now, especially because, you know, the market's tough, it's challenging, it's not as easy as it was a few years ago where everything's flying off the shelves and all of that. So maybe we can speak on just pushing through the people that need to get that next deal or need to, you know, maybe they're feeling the contraction a little bit. But let's talk about the FYE.
Yeah, so the best time to buy a house was in April of 21. The next best time is now. It's not getting any cheaper. The rates aren't going down. Jerome Powell says that they've got to tame inflation. That's Fed talk for we're going to keep raising rates. Okay, like make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's clear as a bell. That's a signal to Wall Street. And for those agents or anybody that doesn't know how this works, let me give you the simple layman's terms of how inflation gets tamed. The Fed printed a bunch of money, gave it to the United States government through the banks, okay? And they didn't charge the banks any interest to get their money back, which meant all that money stayed in circulation. Now the Fed charges an interest rate, so 5% off of that money starts coming out of circulation and goes back to the Fed, hypothetically, right? But just follow with me. Then they raise the rates again, 6% comes from the bank and goes to Fed. So now they're removing 6% of the dollars out of circulation for the day. And that's how they take the money back out to where our value goes back up and there's not as many dollars in circulation. A lot of people don't understand. That's a very simplified version of it, but a lot of people don't understand that. So what happens is they're not going, we printed we printed $18 trillion. 18 trillion we printed in the last 3 years. It's going to take a while at a high percentage rate at 5% to bring all those notes in. And on top of that, last week we passed a critical mass point in our country where now the interest on the national debt we carry is higher than our military spending. It's only a matter of time before we got to decide to pay one or the other, and our enemy countries are waiting to attack. That's scary. We now, because we printed so much money, so the Fed's got to get some of that out of circulation. So that's also how the national debt goes down in one level or another. They got to get that out of circulation. There's not as much interest. We don't have as much debt. And so I say all of that because that's not going down anytime soon. We got to figure out how to get at least $18 trillion worth of capital out of society. And the Fed's going to have to keep raising rates. They might have to go to 12, 13, 14%. We don't know. Everybody has what Alan Greenspan calls these irrational exuberance of it's going to go back down. And maybe if Trump gets in there, it might go down. Or maybe the next Democrat gets in. I don't think Biden will rerun, but maybe the next Democrat gets in there, it does go down because they're a person like Clinton that's a deal maker and for the people and a deal maker like Clinton was. So maybe we get lucky. I don't know who that person is on either side, but maybe we get lucky. Chances are it's only going to get worse. Right? I haven't seen it improve in my lifetime other than the 4 years that Trump was in office, but then it went right back to normal as soon as he left, right? So let's just assume that things are they're going to continually progressively decline because that's where our country is headed right now, meaning rates going up, people losing jobs, the house of prices going up, and rates are going up. So even if somebody's playing the interest rate game, the house is going to cost them more a year from now too. Right. You and I were just discussing that, man, wow, I can't believe houses didn't go down. Rates go up and prices are still going up too. This is crazy, Zillow says that through 2024, prices are across the country on average expected to go up 6.8%. So, Zillow, let's call it 10%, and the Fed, let's call it 10%, right? You got 20% of your costs are going up right there for buying a home. So I say that because a lot of agents right now are sitting idle waiting for something. Oh, waiting on a miracle. That's what you're doing. You're waiting on a miracle. You're waiting on a prayer to be answered, and it's your prayer is different than Jerome Powell's prayer. Your prayer is different than the interest that we've got attained to be able to continue to spend on our military. So what's going to happen is their prayers are going to be answered and prices are going to continue to go up. That's all the more reason for anybody listening right now to press your people to buy now. Press your people, your sellers. I don't know, if they've got a low interest rate, horrible time to sell a home. I can't sell my home for that reason. And it doesn't make financial sense. But if you've got buyers, you are doing them a service by getting them to close right now. And if rates do, what if I'm wrong? And all of these facts I just gave you are complete BS and the rates do drop down, cool, they can refinance, right? They got a win-win situation no matter what anyway. So now, the FYE mentality stands for fuck your excuses. And I want to tell your audience a story that will help them see things, especially as people go through times like a recession. And let's just imagine that the world is this blue globe that we're floating on is like a microchip in a black server. Let's just think of outer space as like a black cabinet server, and our globe, this blue light in the middle of darkness, is the light on in the server. You flip it on, this little blue light that comes on, okay?
Yeah.
Just think about that. Inside that server, there's got to be a governed algorithm that runs that light, right? There's got to be something that says, hey, this is what's good, this is what's bad, this is how we turn over the ocean, this is how the atmosphere cures itself, this is how clouds, the water cycle, all of that, right? There's an algorithm that governs our planet. And it governs our planet, and the way that it works, I call it the force of average. And the way that it works is we'll take California here. There's people living on the streets here, and they seem to be doing pretty good, actually. They got a tent, they got a couple friends over, they're out front smoking cigarettes. Cigarettes are expensive as hell. Like, if you can afford cigarettes, that's an American luxury, These cigarettes like $10, $20 a pack around here. It's unreal. And so these guys smoke cigarettes, doing drugs, living the life, because there's no expectations and they're below average. So Starbucks says, come get free coffee. The government says, come get free housing. We'll do anything to get you to become average, right? Then when you live average, they keep you comfortable, right? They get you a car payment, a mortgage payment, some credit card debt, some student loan debt. You got to keep that $90,000 a year job. Your wife's got to keep her $80,000 a year job. Your kids, they've got to work at 13 to start making side money so they can afford the cool clothes they want. Your taxes go up, blah, blah, blah. But then when you start chasing greatness, right? An entrepreneur, business owner, great physically, athletically, something politically, you start chasing greatness, what happens? The force of an average, it comes and it tries to push you back down. Hey, I'm going to give you more taxes. Hey, here's more responsibility. Here's unexpected bills. Hey, here's incarceration, adoption, whatever, right? Here's a divorce. Here's a car accident. Oh, you're doing great things. Let me push you back down to average. And most people, they cave under that pressure and they go, you know what? That wasn't for me. I tried greatness once. It wasn't for me. But the truth is, the force of average is going to always have a gravitational pull against those of us that are trying to do great things, and we just got to get strong enough to struggle through it. And when you look at it that way, you think, okay, well, this force of average thing, this algorithm on this planet, the way that it works to keep people comfortable in average, schools are a part of it, governments are a part of it, religion's a part of it, everything's to make you a good little boy and girl and go get your job and do what you're supposed to do and do as you're told, right? Let BlackRock and Vanguard manage your 401ks. You just go be good little worker bees, right? It's not designed for us to be entrepreneurs and we say, hey, we're going to chase a different path. Whoa, you get back into your comfort zone. Get back into average, boy. Tries to control us. Well, so I would consider that an enemy. I don't want to be average at all. So anything that wants me to be average is my enemy. Anyone who wants me to be average, anything, any algorithm, any God, any deity, whatever that thing is that wants me to be average is my enemy. So if you read the book Art of War, you think, okay, so in that book, it says the first thing you got to do is know thy enemy. The second thing you got to do is figure out what their weapon is, right? If I was going to fight somebody, what's their greatest weapon they're going to use against me in attack? Are they carrying a gun? Do they have a knife? Or they got a nightstick? Are they a jujitsu person? If I'm going to go to war against somebody, I got to know, are they carrying nukes? Do they have missiles? They got an Air Force, a Navy. So we're at war against the force of average. Those of us chasing greatness. Those of us that want to be average, you're in love with it. But those of us that want to chase greatness, we're at war with it. That's what's holding, that's that highs and lows you're talking about. My whole life, I'm like, man, as soon as I get up, I'm right back down. What's going on? It's that gravitational pull. And once I identified that, what's going on? Oh, I got an enemy called the force of average. Okay, so what's this enemy doing to me? It's distracting me. That's its weapon, mass distraction, right? We have to make 50,000 decisions today, according to the Science Medicine Journal. We have to make 50,000 decisions a day of what color this is, whether we agree with that, billboards, yes, no, food, drink, use the bathroom, everything in between, what color this is, are those on, we're constantly processing everything with this sensory program that we've got between our ears. And the force of average is just trying to get you to stay distracted at all times. Hey, look at TikTok. Hey, look at force of average, or look at Facebook. Hey, here's bad news from here. Let that distract you from your mission. Oh, hey, here's the news saying this is going on. Let that distract you from your mission. Oh, here's temptation in the form of a hot dog. Go eat that and don't go to the gym, right? It's always trying to distract you. So if you know that your enemy has a name and your enemy has a weapon, it's our job to know what we've got in our arsenal that's more powerful than that weapon. And we humans are born with a superpower. And this superpower is focus. And a lot of people think focus like they're going to look at something and maybe they need their readers, like they're going to focus on something. But I look at focus as having a vision of what's possible and taking the action towards making it a reality. And being in the zone, right? Like when you first started this brokerage, I bet you were just like, you were in the zone, late nights, all the paperwork, all the recruiting, piss and vinegar, just full of life. This is possible, it's happening. And not a hammer, not a gong, not a bell, not a phone call, nothing could knock you out of that zone until your mission accomplished. And then you sit back, right? You're like, man, I'm building something, right? And then we're like, how do I get back into that zone? How do I go back into that focus? Because the force of average knows as soon as you step into that, next thing you know, you got 1,000 agents. You've built an empire with a clubhouse with a podcast room in it. It knows that. It knows that that's what's coming, and it's trying to keep you from doing that because now you got a voice. Now your tax dollars matter. Now you can run for public office because you got enough people who know who you are in this state to back you and talk how good you are. So it's trying to keep you, trying to keep all of us in one form or another from being able to do these things. But we have this weapon of focus. And when we see something and we set goals, but here's the problem with people setting goals and why they lose their focus. They set a goal of $1 million a year. And they wait 11 months and 20 days till it matters. There's a Parkinson's law. Any space will eventually fill given enough time. And the antithesis of that is that during that time, as long as you give it, that's the time it will take for it to fill up, right? And people do the same thing. So the way to beat the force of average is to focus and to know what to focus on and to focus daily. So you don't need a yearly goal. You want to make $1 million a year? That's bullshit. You need to make $2,800 a day, because you can go to sleep at night knowing you're a failure or not at $2,800 a day. Most people won't do that because they don't want to know that they screwed up for the day and they went to sleep with nothing and now they're $2,800 in debt for what their goal is the next day. That's scary. $1 million in the year sounds good. I don't got to deal. I got to deal with that pain that pain of failure for 2 weeks a year. That's it. The 20th through the first week of January, knowing I missed last year's goals.
But $2,800 a day is good accountability.
I got to deal with that every day.
Yeah.
I got to sleep at night knowing that I screwed up. I was lazy. I played video games. I didn't do my work, whatever it is, every single night. When I start holding myself accountable, gym daily, $2,800 daily, family time daily, weekly date night with the wife. When I got focused on those things on a daily basis, you see the empire that we've built before you. No more ups and downs. I ain't seen a down. I've had the force of average try to kick my ass as recently as last month, but I didn't see a down. It's not going to happen because I know to be focused on the right things. But all these horrific, catastrophic, life-changing experiences that I've had over the years led me to I got to figure out how to avoid this shit. I got to figure out how this doesn't happen again. I got tired of getting it, losing it. Cool, I know I can get it. Can I keep it? Right? Right. I got the getting it part down. Let me work on the keeping it part. Yeah. And that's what it's taken. So this FYE is fuck your excuses. The excuse is the opposite of responsibility. And responsibility, most people, especially today's day and age, they don't want it. They blame, you go to somebody at work, you're like, why is this report not done? And they're like, well, Oliver was supposed to do it. Well, guess what happened? They had an opportunity to learn a lesson about how to get reports done on time, but instead they passed that responsibility over to Oliver. And now when I have a conversation with you, you learn the responsibility and the lesson of that because you don't give me an excuse, therefore making you a more responsible person, therefore giving you more responsibility, making you a better person. See, when you give an excuse, you're robbing yourself. You're robbing yourself of the lesson. You're robbing yourself of the wisdom. You're robbing yourself of the experience, the coaching, whatever comes with that. And people make excuses because they're scared to admit failure, they're scared to admit laziness, they're scared to admit fault, but admitting that stuff and getting some correction and direction from that's what actually makes you a better person. And so many people, they make excuses in life, and I don't have excuses, I have responsibility. Yeah. Everything's my fault. I control this world around Ryan Stewman. Everything's my fault. And I carry that responsibility. And guess what? Because of that, I get the responsibility of having a lot of money, responsibility of having a lot of kids, responsibility of having a lot of employees, responsibility of having a lot of friends because I'm a responsible person. Most people are excuse makers and they wonder why they don't have anything because you've given all your responsibility and your ability to get anything to other people that inherited your excuses.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Mic drop. No, that's very true. So what I'm hearing is the focus piece, the eliminating the excuses and kind of building in accountability. Another thing that I love that you always talk about is excellence and keeping a high standard. And so I'd be curious for, the real estate folks listening, how they can implement that in their day-to-day to kind of take their business to the next level.
You see like Andrew Tate, and a lot of people now will say, be a person of value, or a high value male, or a high value woman. And a lot of people, they think, okay, well, that just means I deserve a Chanel bag or a Rolex watch or whatever the case, or I make money. But let's take that a step further. If we were going to be a high valued human, what values would we have? What do we value as a society, right? We value somebody who's honest.
Yep.
that keeps their word, that does what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it. We value somebody that's responsible, we can rely on, that's not going to give us an excuse.
Good communicators, all that kind of stuff.
We value people that are healthy.
Yep.
You know, we value people that are smart thinkers, that are leaders, right? So if you were to start making a list of these things that society values, and then be honest with yourself, right? Then make a list next to it of all the things you value, like what you really value, not going to the gym, what you really value, doing just enough average work. You look at what society values plus what you value, and then you can look at the difference and go, oh, if I want to be valued at a higher value, I've got to value what society values and not what I'm doing personally in my life. And so we created core values. And I know people hear this all the time. Since you're football coach in the 7th grade, you know, integrity, honor, respect, right, that you yelled in football. But core values are the precursors to a culture in your family, in your relationships, in your office. And I looked at what things society values, and then I wanted to be a high value person according to those. So we took, our acronym is RISE, and we have a word and then the thought behind the thought. So it's responsibility, we make no excuses. Integrity, we do what we say we're gonna do when we say we're gonna do it. Service, we go above and beyond, right? And then excellence, we do the work. Because nothing excellent comes without putting in the time and the work. Yeah. And so those are things society values. And so I thought those are our core values as a whole, just 4 simple core values that our company lives by, my family lives by, I live by, and Die Hard live by these things. And when you decide, and you can steal my core values, that's totally cool, or you can create your own, but you have to really compare what you value in your life right now, just an honest opinion. Ego drop, just an honest opinion of what you're truly valuing. And if you wonder what you value, look at the results, right? Is your car clean or dirty? Is your house clean or dirty? Do you go to the gym? Do you eat clean or do you eat junk? Do you take care of yourself? Are you showing up to work on time or showing up late? Are you growing and making more money, or are you shrinking and worrying to death where your next paycheck's going to come from, right? You can look and see what you value, because if you look and you say, hey, my paycheck's shrinking, then you don't value hard work. But guess what? Society does. If you can look at it and say my health's deteriorating, it's like, well, you don't value taking care of your fitness, but society does. And so but the cool thing is you identified where you're lacking and what your values are, and you know what the checklist is of what you got to get your values to. And the next thing you know, you become a person of value. And here's the thing, when you become a person of value, a true one, and you carry yourself not just in front of the camera, but everywhere that way, people catch that. You walk into a room, people know. They don't need to see a big wedding ring. They don't need to see a fancy watch. You could show up in gym shorts and gym shoes and a tank top, and they just know a person of value. They can know, hey, that person's confidence is through the roof. They must be in line with themselves in one way or another.
Yeah. I would even piggyback on that, and maybe we're coining a new term right now, but become a high-value realtor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like knowing the market stats, knowing the school district.
What do your customers value?
Right. Exactly.
And then becoming that valuable person.
Yeah.
Nothing's worse than when you ask a realtor a question, they're like, I don't know that neighborhood. It's like, that's your job. In your spare time, you shouldn't be sitting around waiting for the title company to call. You should be studying maps, neighborhoods. Yeah. Like, that's what I did. That's what I still do as a real estate investor. There ain't nowhere in Collin County I don't know where it's at. I've driven every bit of it, went to every neighborhood, looked at everything on Zillow, been doing that for, 20 years at this point.
Yeah, same. I remember at the beginning, I used to be big on, trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I would do my prospecting mostly in the car.
Same here.
And I would just drive neighborhoods. Yep. And I would pick, maybe 5, 10 properties a day to go preview. And I would just drive the neighborhood, and I'd be making my calls while in the car. And, you do that every day as opposed to just sitting around every day. Then all of a sudden you're going to become a high-value realtor.
Yep. That's same here. We didn't have Zillow and all the tools we have now. So I literally just drove around neighborhoods and would write down names from signs to find real estate agents. And then I would call the numbers the next day to prospect them and have lunch with them and stuff. Right. So put in the time to do it. But that's how it became when a realtor's like, hey, I got a house over in Stonebriar. It's like, okay, what are we looking at? $300,000-$400,000 for that thing? I knew back then what everything was.
Like what street? Or is it by this park or that park?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that. So just to kind of expand even further a little bit on that, realtors right now, how would you coach them on the ones that want to take their business to the next level? What would you say to those folks?
Well, first you got to get dialed in with your core values, because here's what happens. There's levels to business. 4 levels, very simple. There's working for somebody else level. And at that level, you got to master sales and marketing, because if you can't get people and clients and get money, then you're never going to be able to go to the next level. Second level, self-employed. That's where a lot of real estate agents are. Okay, they know sales and marketing, they can get listings, they can get buyers, they can work social media, and they say, I want to go to the next level, and they think that means more money. They think, okay, well, I'm not happy making 20 grand a month, I want to make 100 grand a month, right? And they think, all I got to do is make more money. I need to get better at sales and marketing, so they go get more leads, go get more deals, and then they wind up like, shit, I'm still 20 grand, right? Because to get to the next level, you have to master hiring and training, because you can only go so far by yourself. Those sales and marketing skills and your ability to sell and keep up with lead flow only goes so far. It takes human capital and help at some point. And most people never go to that next level, that metaphorical next level that can take them to $1 million a month, 100 grand, 200 grand, $1 million a month. They never go to that next level because they never master people. They never get the hiring and training. They think that there's some magic way that they can get more hours out of the day and do it themselves. And you can't. You have to start to duplicate yourself. And so for agents wanting to go to the next level, right now is the time to recruit. Let me tell you, right now is the time to recruit. Why? Because brokers are stressed and they're avoiding their people. Right? Because they're scared everybody's going to quit. According to John Cheplack, the average agent transfers brokerages every 18 months. You need to start using, you agents out there recruiting people on your team because you want to go to the next level, you need to start using long-term language. Hey, we're your destination broker. Will you come with us? In your first year with us, we're going to teach you and get you to this level. By year 5, our plans with you are this level. So now they've got that 18 months out the door. They got, hey, these people got a 5-year plan for me. I don't even have a 5-year plan for my life. You stop using the word can't and you start using the word don't. So let me give you an example. I can't eat pizza because it makes me fat. I sound like a victim to pizza if I eat it. There's some existential outside circumstance that keeps me, I can't, from eating pizza, therefore it makes me fat, versus I don't eat pizza because it makes me fat. Think of the power and the ownership and the responsibility of that statement. So speaking certain words like that to your changing can'ts into don'ts and things of that nature into these agents using long-term language. We got a 5-year plan, destination, brokerage, last place you'll ever need, unlimited training, and because that's what's happening right now. They're getting avoided, their business is down, their brokers are avoiding them, and they're like, should I go work at UPS? They're paying 170 grand a year. Right? That's what's happening in the real estate market right now. If you're out there, you want to go to the next level, there's hungry agents that need leadership, they need training, they need to be hired, they need to be brought in. This is the perfect time to do that. While everybody else is leaving, your competition's drying up too. Says, hey man, just sweat this out with me for another year at the most. In 5 years from now, we're going to be filthy, stinking rich because the competition left and you stuck around with me and I've been leading you according to my systems.
Love that.
The second thing is, to get to the next level beyond that, to become a CEO, which a CEO is a person has a board of directors, multiple employees, been in business. So you got hiring and training. Humans got you to the CEO level because now you're managing multiple people. You're no longer self-employed. At that level, you got to master brand building and leadership. So this isn't Oliver Graf Realty. This is Big Block Realty. That's a brand. Oliver has a car accident and something happens to you, then you're gone. They're like, well, shit, I don't work for that guy anymore. I guess I'll go work for Remax or something, right? And because it's all built around you. Big Block doesn't matter if you're here or not. Some people know Big Block Realty don't even know who the hell you are. A lot of them. Yeah. Because you don't matter because you built a brand. And now your job is to lead the people that you hired. It's not to train and hire them at this point because that should be somebody else's job, COO, director of HR. But as CEO, your job is to lead those people. You got your 4 or 5 COO, CFO, CSO, these guys or ladies that you're leading. And that's your job. And you're leading and building that brand because you eventually want to exit, which is the 4th and final level, which is owner or investor, depends on if you sold your company or if you still own it and get paid from it. But at the investor level, then you got to master finances and tax. You know, you got to know what to do with all the money you got, how to avoid taxes and everything else, how to invest the money and all of that. But those are, everybody's always talking about, I want to go to the next level. How do I get to the next level? I just gave you literally the graph, the stair steps, the easiest layout that you can put. And it takes 8 skills to get to the top level. But you can't get to you can't go, oh, I'm going to go really focus on brand building and leadership if you're self-employed because you ain't got no brand or leadership. You ain't got nobody to lead and no brand to build. You got to go get the hiring and training part down.
Love that.
And so many people, they skip that. They think, oh, I'm going to build a big company by myself. It's never going to happen. Never in history has it happened. There's no solopreneur billion-dollar venture anywhere. Nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's huge. I think, you bring up a great point there that people talk about wanting to go to the next level, but they don't clearly identify what that next level is.
Yeah, they don't know. It's just what they're basically saying is, I don't like where I am right now.
Yeah.
I'm not happy here.
Yeah.
I want something more. And so they use this thing that sounds fancier, next level, but they have no idea what the levels are. But it's much like the force of average. If it confuses you on what level you're on, like if you don't know what level, then how can you get focused on what to make that next level a possibility? I just gave you focus and clarity.
Love that. Yeah, that was huge. Definitely go implement that. Just as we wrap up, got a couple
We got to talk about ranches.
for you. I was just going to say, one thing we were talking about before we got started is that now you're flipping ranches. So I definitely want to hear about that because that's something not only do I not know a whole lot about, but I've never heard of a whole lot of people that are doing that. So let's talk about how you're flipping ranches.
Yeah, so I've lived in Texas my whole life, so that's just part of our life. You know, whether you live in the city or you live in the country, you know somebody with a ranch or that's got some cattle or a pond you can fish in or a place you can hunt on. So I've been around that my whole life. My wife and I were about to build a huge mansion and like a $5-7 million house, and rates started going up, property got weird, I backed out of it, and I decided, you know what? Man, we might get in trouble. The government's acting crazy. Russia, the Ukraine, all this stuff. This is last December. I pulled out of the house in August, and I'm still interested in buying a house, just not sure what I'm going to do. And I was like, man, you know what? We might get in some trouble. I need to look at land. And I started looking at land around DFW, Dallas, Fort Worth, in Texas. It's like $16,000 to $100,000 an acre. I just did a deal a few weeks ago where I was making a steal at $100,000 an acre. Like I was stealing it from the lady. It was probably worth $200,000 an acre. Just unreal money out there. And so I couldn't afford all that, right? Not any kind of massive amount of acreage. So I crossed the border into Oklahoma. About an hour and a half from Dallas, Texas is Ardmore, Oklahoma. And it's beautiful. Rolling hills, just green as all get out, tall grass, very lush. Oklahoma is a beautiful state. And so I found this place. It's 400 acres, and this rancher guy owned it. And he wanted $2.75 million for it, and I made him an offer. I said, look, I'll pay you $2.5 million. And he was asking for the fence anyway. I said, look, I'll pay you $2.5 million for this place. But here's what I want to do. I can close tomorrow, but I'll give you $500,000 in cash, and I will need you to carry a note for 2 years for the remaining $2 million at 0% interest, and I will pay you every single month, and you can keep your cows there. You can continue to bale the hay, continue to grow the wheat. You can run this whole operation as if you owned it, and I never bought it from you. Just know that we're going to be on there four-wheelers every weekend. And he's like, I'm going to need at least 5%. It's like 0%. Because let me tell you right now, that cattle ranch is not cash flowing $25,000 a month. But once I step foot on it, it immediately starts paying that immediately. He's like, shit, how can I say no to that? It's like, that's what I'm telling you. You got $500,000 cash today, $25,000 for the next 2 years. You got guaranteed income coming in. Look up my name. Here's my finances. There's zero chance of this being a bad deal.
Okay.
So he agreed to it. I bought it from him. About 2 months, he comes up 2 months later, I'm building a house on the property, right? So about 2 months later, I bought 7 more acres next door and built a house there. And he shows up at my gate and he goes, you know, I was a little pissed off at you because you taught me into 0% interest. And I felt like even though it was a good deal, I just felt like, man, there's something in me I had to get a little interest in it. And then you just refused to do it. So I didn't like you. But I've been reading your Instagram posts. You're a pretty smart guy. And he goes, I like your style. He goes, I think we should partner up. He goes, you know rich people from Dallas. I know poor farmers from Oklahoma. We can go out and buy land from these guys in Oklahoma. They're getting a good price for it. Your people are getting it at a third of what it costs down there in Dallas. Let's see what we can do. So we go out to Waurika, Oklahoma, which is Native American for middle of fucking nowhere, right? Okay. Just, 'cause I said that name as if anybody ever would know what this is, right? Yeah. But that's the point. It's in the middle of nowhere, southern Oklahoma. And we put a contract with a development company for 1,200 acres. Okay.
Wow.
And my ranch is 400 acres. This is 1,200 acres. And so we go out, we show it to a few people. We got this thing for $2,000 an acre. Okay. So we show it to a few people. We had one guy that almost bought it from us for $6 million, but I end up dumping it for $2,600 an acre. So we making $600 an acre times 1,200 acres, right? So we made like right at $1 million that we split between the two of us, right?
Yeah.
And it was a little less than that after we paid the realtor and all the fees and stuff. But I mean, it was a good come up quick. Because if I'm going to flip a 5,000 square foot home, I might be able to get $10 to $20 a square foot. So we're talking $20,000, $30,000 at most. Now I can add hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per acre because it's a huge tract of land if I negotiate it right. So we did that, and then we immediately went down the road and picked up another one. And this one was by the airport, and we still have it now for sale. This one's by the airport. We picked it up from a development company, and they were selling it for $25,000 an acre. And the problem is it's landlocked. So you can't get to it. No access.
Okay.
We own the land next to it. So we went in and said, it's landlocked. You guys ain't going to be able to get an easement. We'll give you $2,000 an acre. And they're like, no. And then they came back and they're like $2,500 an acre. And we have it for sale for $9,000 an acre right now with the easement. Way. It's a steal, right?
Wow.
And I've got a guy that's pretty interested. I got to speak to on Sunday about it because on that land, the development company doesn't know this, but on that land, there's also 200 elk. Like real elk,
wow.
Like Joe Rogan elk, right?
Okay.
And so anybody that's an elk hunter in Dallas, South Texas, dude, we're talking an hour and a half to go kill one. You know, and you can call them up. Come here, boy. They're like, there's a bunch of them, man, you know. And two things there's an abundance of over there, elk and hog.
Okay.
And if you get a helicopter, you could kill hogs for days. You know, if you bow hunt or you want to drive by, shoot them from the truck, these elk are everywhere over there. They got trapped on a high fence in the airport, so they can't leave. So when they high fence the airport up over there, the elk can't leave the area because the land backs up to the airport. So this guy's going to buy this land, hunt elk for a few years on it, sell it to the airport, and make a killing. So it'd be that simple, you know.
And you just carved like a road or something to get to it off your.
We already have the road. We just give them access to the fence. You know,
it's great.
You just cut a little fence in there, put a gate in there. It's like you can use our road to get to it. Here's the easement and the title. And
that's killer.
Yeah,
I think the big takeaway there is your mindset shift of, I could flip a house and I can, make the spread on that and maybe
10,
make
50
30 grand.
Yeah.
But the amount of work on that is a good amount, right?
Lot.
You're managing contractors, you're buying materials and bidding and building and permitting and all the things, inspections and all that. Or you can do the same thing on a much bigger scale and make way bigger profits. I think most people just have a mental block, or they think the risk is too big on something like that.
Well, you got to know people. I know the farmer, and I know the city people with money, and I know the hunters because I'm big in that world, right? So I've got the connections because of my social influence to be able to pull that off. It wouldn't be for everyone. Somebody might buy a piece of property like the people selling it in Waurika, Oklahoma, and not know nobody jack anywhere and have that thing for sale for 10 years, you know? With me, I also set these contracts. I get 6-7 month contract. So I got all the time in the world to advertise this thing. They're not going to move land fast anyway. So
like an option contract or something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm set on them for a long time, marketing the hell out of them. I've flipped 4, 5 at this point. I haven't been to the end of the contract on any of them.
That's amazing.
Because no offense to real estate agents, but most of them are not as good of a marketer as I am. So if I got my hands on this property, I can actually get more. Imagine if I was the realtor, I can get more money from me, sell it to the right people.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually making the dials, calling the people. Hey, you want to buy this property? I got great property with elk. You know, as soon as I got my hands on this property, I sent like 100 text messages to my friends with videos and stuff.
Yep.
So I got all this interest. Then
And
the next thing that we do.
almost brings it full circle to being a high value individual, right?
Absolutely.
You have all the connections, which you put in the work to develop, and now you're taking advantage of it and easily putting deals together.
I have those connections because of my values. Therefore, those connections find me valuable, so they stay connected to me.
Yeah.
It's that simple. I wouldn't have these wealthy connections that are interested in buying, hobby places like an elk ranch and stuff like that without being a person of value. And then a lot of times we will step in and work on them too. So if you want me to tear down the trees, you want to build a road, you want to dig lakes, we got all the equipment to do that. And we're just good old rednecks with paychecks that like to do it anyway. So just give me an excuse to go break stuff up and burn things down, And that's the fun part. Somebody will buy it and say, well, I want a road and I want a pond over here. It's like, we'll fire the tractors up.
We can
go
do
out
that.
there, work it into the deal.
Yeah.
And they might have to go pay $50,000 to dig a pond somewhere, and we just work it into the deal. We're making money and get it all closed in one deal. Go out there, set everything up for them, build it to where they can actually enjoy it. They can go out there and hunt it, and they're not having to. Because as much as everybody likes to think, I like to go in the extreme of hunting. I mean, going through those, if you can cut tracks through those woods and you can make it easier on a hunter to where he's not covered in kookaburras and stickers and everything else, like there's an element that's appealing to those guys, and I enjoy doing it.
Right.
It gives me something to do at the ranch on the weekends for fun. That's how I blow off steam, and we make money from it.
Yeah.
They make people's dreams come true. Now they've got their setup that they needed for them to be able to get away from.
Hey, everybody's winning.
Yep,
that's the name of the game on that. Well, that is very cool, man. I've never heard of anybody flipping ranches. Interesting angle, interesting expertise that you bring to that. A couple just quick questions to wrap. I like to ask everyone. I have 2 young kids at home, 6 and 8, little boys, and I like to ask the successful people that I talk to what advice you would give to them and the next generation on being successful in life and business.
I would say go get a hard job. So many people want to go get an easy job when they're young, and they don't learn the discipline and hard work that it takes to carry that tradition on as an adult. I would go get a job working construction. First of all, construction people getting rich, right? But I would go get a job doing the job. All your friends, they want to be influencers. They want to be celebrities.
YouTubers.
They want to go to YouTube and Hollywood and everything else. Go pick up a hammer. Go get good at construction. Go learn plumbing. You know why? Because nobody's wanting to do that. And anytime their demand stays the same or continues to increase and the supply decreases, money goes up. Value, that's high value right there. And no kids right now are waking up going, I want to go put on a roof. I want to go be a plumber. I want to go unclog toilets. That's not what they're saying. And when you get that mentality of doing what nobody else wants, that's how you look around our country and you see immigrants that have built empires in 2 or 3 generations. That's because they did the work no lazy American would do. It's that simple.
Damn.
Everybody else said, I don't want to do that. And they said, we're not above nothing. And now they're above a lot of people.
That's legit. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great advice. And then last question. In 60 seconds or less, what does it take to be a hardcore closer?
Someone that's got core values, that lives by the G code, and is an example to others of what's possible. It has nothing to do with sales anymore.
Love that.
Crazy as that sounds. It started out that way, but I feel like that. I originally created this hardcore closer website, and then people started calling me the hardcore closer, and I was like, that's a cool nickname. I never thought of it that way, but that's a cool nickname. And then I kind of hid behind the identity. It's like Ryan's a failure and lost his job and has been to prison and divorced and stuff. Hardcore closer's like, it's just a sales dude. And so I got to kind of hide Ryan in the shadows of this hardcore closer moniker for a long time, and until about 2017 or 18, it's like, hey, it's me. I've actually figured all this stuff out, and I don't have to hide. And I was never hide my identity, and I was never not telling the whole story. It's just that I could. It was like being Bruce Wayne and Superman or Batman. It's like, I wasn't really Bruce Wayne wasn't a cool guy, but Batman was. So I got to be Batman as much as possible, and at some point, I didn't need Batman anymore. And so now it's trying to make it more than just sales. It's just people that are high value, following the G code, setting examples for everybody else.
I love that. Man, I really appreciate it. I think it's been some awesome insight. I love the concept of just becoming a high value person, high value realtor, high value entrepreneur. I think that's a brilliant way to look at it. I love your stuff on excellence and just really focusing and just blocking out all the BS and doing you and staying true and increasing your skills and all that. So
I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
Yeah,
hopefully
man.
we gave some value to your people and And really, hopefully there's a few people out there listening to this that go take action on some of the stuff that we talked about, because there's some actionable items that can really help people come up in this episode.
Yeah, most definitely. As always, like and subscribe. For people that want more, how can they connect with you?
At Hardcore Closer on Instagram and Real Ryan Stewman on Facebook, which is both of them have blue checks, so they've been verified or whatever. So there's lots of duplicate scammy pages. I'll never ask you for Bitcoin or for money or slide in your DMs like that. That's not how I roll.
Yeah.
So just blue check profiles only on Facebook and Instagram. That's the best place to find me.
Right on, man. And join Apex. It's a killer community and know a lot of people in it. And we'll see you guys on the next one.